Salvador Sanchez. We have, as a city, been really lucky that we have a lot of these people that want to do well and do good for other people. So that's been extremely helpful. It doesn't always happen. But yeah, I mean, Lexington can feel like a bigger city, but then it has a very small town feel.
Hello and welcome back to the Hollercast, the show produced by the Holler Creative out of Corbin, Kentucky, whose mission is to bring hope and opportunity back to Appalachia. But today we're actually not in Corbin, we are in Lexington at a Cup of Commonwealth, joined with Salvador Sanchez. How are you doing, Sal?
Good, how are you?
Wonderful. And Chase Hale is also in the studio. We're in Salvador's office. I think this is the office in the back of their shop, right next to downtown. So Sal, can I call you Sal?
Yeah.
I've done it twice already.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
So Salvador, Sal, we've been asking the same icebreaker question to everyone. What is your go-to gas station snack and drink?
Oh, wow. Drink is boring. It's just like a bottle of water. But snack, sometimes I really crave Pringles. So if they have the little cans of Pringles, I'll get them. And then I love chocolate and peanut butter. So Reese's are like really great for me whenever I see them.
Yeah. Can't blame me there. I'm a big Reese's guy.
When you're at a gas station, you have these weird cravings.
Yeah.
You don't usually
you'll get
have.
something you wouldn't normally get.
I feel like I eat pretty healthy too, but when I go to a gas station, I'm like, oh,
No, nobody goes for the health at the gas station, which you do better than most with the waters.
yeah.
So you own these two coffee shops now and the Chocolate Holler. So you seem to like coffee a lot. What is it? How did this love for coffee develop or come about?
Yeah, I think as a kid, we always had coffee around us. Both of my grandmothers would come over, and we always have coffee with them. And when we were kids, my parents always made us drink a lot of milk and like a dash of coffee.
Yeah.
And then as we got older, we could have more coffee and less milk.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was like 18 or 19, I was drinking black coffee. But
I'm still not drinking black.
but from there, I mean, I was looking for a job when I was 15, and there was a girl that I really wanted to date, and she was working at a coffee shop. It was half coffee shop, half barbecue restaurant, which was a horrible idea. That was a bad idea.
That's interesting.
So I had to work there because of that. So I applied, and I got the job, and then I really fell in love with coffee. And then from there, I just kind of stuck with the coffee industry, and fast forward to, 21 years later, and here we are.
Yeah. Or what are some of the things that happened in that 21 years to get from you being a kid in love with coffee and in love with this one girl to opening your own multiple coffee shops?
Yeah, that relationship didn't work out, but it did make me fall in love with coffee. So I ended up
There was love there.
Yeah. So then from there, I went to school, and I was still trying to decide if I wanted to be a writer or to own my own business, but I kept working at coffee shops. And then I worked for Water Street Coffee Joint in Kalamazoo, Michigan, when I was going to school there. And when I was there, I realized I want to open a coffee shop. That's this very specific business I want. And I knew I just needed to start kind of working toward it and saving up money. So I worked there through college, and then a year later I stayed, and then I thought, okay, if I want to open a shop by the time I'm 35, I need to save even more money. So I started looking to the corporate world, found a job in Amarillo, Texas, moved out there. I started working for Hastings and kind of worked my way up from being an assistant to a director, and then eventually I was a director of their other coffee shops and their customer service program. And then I was getting closer to opening my own shop, and I started looking for business partners, and I really wanted somebody that could work 16-hour days with me, and just kind of struggle through that first year or so. So I reached out to, I think, 4 different friends, and ultimately found a friend that was gung-ho about it too. So then I realized from Hastings there was 150, 160 stores that I just needed to start kind of scaling down. So I wasn't thinking in terms of corporate mindset, 150 stores, how do you roll things out, how do you have systems. So I started looking for a job, a transition job in between opening the shop. And then I ended up at Whole Foods, and I was over one of their regions. This was 35, 40 stores. And I was still going to wait till I was 35, but my friend was actually kind of convinced me we could probably pull this off now. And so we started looking at cities. and we started rating them, and Lexington ended up being the top one. So then I moved out here, and we moved here like May 2013, and we opened July 2013. So it was just like, let's just attack it when we get there. So then it was, the shop opened when I was 30, which was like, oh, I'm ahead of schedule. And then it just kind of like grew from there. You know, I left for a little bit to Denver. When I came back, we acquired Magic Beans, and we opened up Chocolate Holler, and we opened up Georgetown, and it's now kind of gone into this like growing, developing stage. And I'm sure you guys know too, like once people are there, then you're trying to build careers for them. So it's like we can't all have a career if it's one coffee shop, so we just kind of keep growing and expanding from there.
Where are you from originally?
Muskegon, Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah. Then went to school at Western Michigan University.
So on this list of cities you were looking at for coffee shops, like what highlighted Lexington for you?
So I was looking for a college town because I think college towns do really well with coffee. I also was looking at saturation, and Lexington was one of the larger cities with very little coffee saturation.
That makes sense.
I was looking at also distance from family and friends. I didn't want to be too close where I got distracted, but I wanted to be close enough where I could still go on a weekend or something. And I knew that if I was near my family and friends, there would just be days where I'm like, I'm just going to go out, I'm going to do this. Where here, when I came to Lexington, I didn't really know anybody. So I was forced to come in here every day and like work on the building and like get ready. And so it just became my life, and it actually made me learn more about Lexington. We were looking at the art scene. We were looking at, was there something changing? And there was kind of a renaissance happening in Lexington around 2013, 2012, that whole time frame. So it was just a giant spreadsheet, and it was just different cities, and kind of narrowed it down. And I think the last three were Detroit, Chattanooga, and Lexington. And then I had never been to Chattanooga at that point, so it was like, that one, I'm just not even going to try. At least I've been to Lexington, I kind of have a general idea of it. And Detroit, I felt like I was just being biased to Michigan because I was from there. And my friend like really loved Lexington too, and that really kind of helped sway. Let's just do Lexington and kind of go from there. And it worked out. I mean, we came here and looked at this location, and I was like, I love this spot. And then the next morning, we just counted cars to make sure it was like a good spot. And then we opened up shop, and it was really funny because those first few weeks, people were coming in and they're like, "This spot is cursed. You're not gonna do well." And like every business before us had closed, and so it's just not gonna work. Which was great that we weren't from here, because we probably would have thought the same thing. But the fact that we were like just random transplants, we were like, "Oh, this is a great spot," and it kind of worked out. I mean, it's almost 7 years now. So
you're kind of on a corner, right, coming into downtown. Like it seems like it would be perfect. So
just for you.
You're
in the wrong place before. Your mission statement is embrace community, serve others, create culture. I think it's on your shirt right now.
Yes.
Wow, that worked out.
So that's like a 3-part statement. I'd like to talk a little bit about each part and like what it means to you and how you act it out in your business. So what does embrace community mean to you, and how does it affect the way you operate?
Looking at other businesses, even ones I've worked for, I noticed that often people would bend or break their mission when they needed to. Like if they needed to make more money, or if they had to appease shareholders or anything like that, they would just kind of change it. And so it's really important not to do that. And I really wanted to have a business that's its foundation was going to be its mission. So when we were originally thinking of the mission, we were like, oh, what do we believe in? What are we going to do? What's our purpose? And we ended up having this like long, drawn out paragraph. And I was like, I don't want that. I want it to be simple. I want it to be easy. I want people to remember it. And I want the employees to remember it. So we hire people in, they understand this is who we are, this is what we do. All of our decisions are based off of this. It's not going to be a marketing ploy or anything like that. This is who we are. So then we thought about what are the pillars that have done well. So all the people that I can think of that I respected the most, and all the businesses I respected the most, always had something tying to their community. Like, how do I get back to my community? What am I doing? How am I leaving a legacy there? There's always a sense of like service, so like servant leadership, or some type of orientation to the fact of we are here to like serve one another, whether it be customer service or just being good people to one another and extending goodwill. And then creating some kind of fun culture. And I think that part is tougher because you have to almost, and sometimes like create a universe that's a little bit different than what we're always used to. So in that, it kind of became, okay, how do we do these things? So we want to find like powerful verbs. It was embrace community, serve others, create culture, and that's kind of how it came to be. And then from there, we had to figure out how does this tie into our business model like correctly? What do we need to do that comes from this? Like this is our core, and everything else flows from it. So community, when we got here, we thought, how do we get involved in Lexington community? So we tried to reach out to everybody, did what we could to get out there. At the beginning, we didn't have a lot, so it was, let's give out free coffee whenever we can. Let's sponsor events whenever we can. How can we connect people, which is part of like the idea of community and also building a culture. So we did the pay it forward board, and that kind of grew into its own like monster. Like I don't know if you guys seen that, but the two walls are just full of
covered.
and Chocolate Holler and Georgetown are kind of slowly growing as they go along too. And then service, we talked about, okay, what's different? How do we do really good service? So we talk about things like, we're not just going to call it a drink unless we're really busy, but in general we'll come out and we're going to drop the drink off to people. We're going to bring them waters and encourage them like, hey, like have fun. This is your living room too, like hang out. We want to act as like hosts. We always treat it like this is our house, and we want to like check in on people and see how they're doing. And then just the idea of like, again, like our culture is like who we are, what we do. We have like, when we go into our meetings, we talk about how we're tying into the mission. We're talking about how we culturally treat one another, how we treat like the city. So it's just become kind of a part of, you know, our fabric.
Cool. So I'm originally from Orlando, Florida, but I moved to Corbin, or I came to school in Williamsburg, right next to Corbin, and I stayed because I'm like inspired by the things that are happening in Corbin and how it's like moving forward as a city and a community. But what are some things, this might be really hard to answer because you don't live there, but like what could businesses do to help build community within a city?
I can't speak specifically to Corbin. I can say like the things that I've seen in the past and like what we've done is even like small things. It's like how do we treat people? And so when people come in, we're in a little bit bigger of a downtown, and so often, you know, we'll have people that are homeless that come in, and often they get kicked out of the business. So our first initial reaction is like, okay, what do they need help with? Is it a cup of coffee, or do they need to sit down and talk to people? Those are simple things. Sometimes it's like somebody crossing the street. Can you help somebody cross the street because they're struggling? Or if you see a customer like walking down the street and they're in a rush and they're normally coming to get coffee, like surprise them one day, make the drink, run out the door, and like drop it off to them. It's like things like building this like infectious type of, I don't know, doing, you know, good things, extending goodwill, and there's like a ripple effect that naturally happens from that. So we would look at, okay, this business, let's shout out this new business. Like we know it's going to be tough for your small business. How do we help them out? If we see people that are in our industry, like other coffee shops opening, like it doesn't hurt us that a coffee shop opens. If anything, it just helps build coffee in general here. So we shout them out. We tell them like, how can we help you? Like, what are some ways? Is there any like advice or guidance that you need, or anything that we can do for you? And what I think we've all found in Lexington is that it is very contagious. So everyone does it. Like when we first opened, so many small business owners came in here like, hey, we're here to help if you need any help. And so it became like a very like cool community of people. And I mean, it's strange because it's tough because you can pinpoint to a lot of, or you can say a lot of different things, but it's tough to pinpoint. It's just like everyone kind of coming together and realizing this is how you have to be in life. Like these are the things that you need to do, and then it naturally kind of builds on top of that. And Lexington, I think, as a city, was just ready for it. Like they wanted these like good things to be happening. And so it was business owners, it was just random college students, it was people that lived here. They're like, let's change a little bit of who we are and what we do. And you get like cool stories. Like I don't know if you know about Sabs. It's a West African restaurant here in town, and he kind of built up a community of people knowing who he is and what's going on. Nicest guy in the world. And 3 or 4 years ago, maybe longer than that now, 5 or 6. He had a really bad accident where peanut oil spilled all over him, and so he had like a ton of burns. Had to go to the hospital, and they were kind of worried about the business. And then within 48 hours, I think it was 48 hours, they raised $50,000 for him in this business. And then everyone was like, well, we're worried about the restaurant's going to close. So everyone just starts going to his restaurant, and like every day at lunch they ran out of food because people were just like, no, we gotta like support him and make sure he's okay. And even like being here, I think a year at that point, I realized like this community is like definitely here to help you out as long as you're willing to extend your hand too. And so it's definitely like, I know it has to be kumbayatic. Everyone has to be willing to work together. And knowing that we're all trying to make, you know, build our own communities, serve one another, and like just treat people well.
So it's super surprising to me because like being from southeastern Kentucky, you think of Lexington, Louisville, like Bowling Green is the big cities of Kentucky, and so you just get this like persona that, you know, businesses are out to get each other, you know, stand alone, fighting against. So it's really encouraging to hear that a downtown area, even in somewhere as big as Lexington, would be that cooperative. So it's really cool.
And I mean, I think before us, they started doing that local first Lexington movement, and there's a lot of people coming. I mean, West 6 was like a huge leader in a lot of things that have happened and changed here in Lexington. I think we and Michael all for restaurants too. Like in general, we have as a city been really lucky that we have a lot of these people that want to do well and do good for other people. So that's been extremely helpful. It doesn't always happen. But yeah, I mean, Lexington can feel like a bigger city, but then it has a very small town feel.
Absolutely.
When stuff like that happens.
Yeah, that I was reading on your site. I was going to ask about it. It says to celebrate Kentucky is to celebrate community, and that just like ties it in. Like Chase from southeastern Kentucky, he like understands community the same way that you do, even though your city's so much bigger.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And it's cool, like simple, dialed down, like bare bones. How do you build community? It's like be good to people, and people are going to be back good to you. That's cool. So this is a cool story I read. I don't know if you'll give me the same answer. Actually, I probably want to hear more than one cool story. But what's one of your favorite memories that you've had in the shop?
The break-in story is easily like
That's
my
what I was
favorite.
thinking about.
And it's, I mean, just because it's so like ingrained in who we are and who we are. And that one is. We've been open for about 5 months, and I mean, it's a small business, so it's like you're still kind of building up, you're hoping your bank account gets bigger, and it was like a Sunday night, and then what had happened was we closed the shop, somebody broke in the middle of the night, and at that time we had a security system, we didn't have any cameras, and we didn't really have a safe yet, so we were just putting the money, like, usually just in the drawer, like, hopefully nothing happens. So they took the drawer, and they took all the money out of the drawer, and they ran up Short Street. So we got a call, and then came in, and a customer helped us out. She had heard what had happened because we posted on social media. So she came down. She had randomly had extra plywood in her apartment, so she came down with plywood, and she came with like a pound of gummy bears and helped board up the window. And then other people like started kind of hearing about it, and we were like, well, we can't leave the shop at this point. We just have a giant piece of wood sitting in the window. So we waited for the opening baristas to show up. And then we were like, okay, we need to go home, clean up, come back. So I head home, shower. On my way back, the shift lead, she called me and she was like, you won't believe what's happening. And so she said the first customer came in and he had like a $20 bill. And he wanted to buy his coffee. And she's like, hey, we have no money to give you. Your drink's on us today. And he was like, we'll just put the money in the cash drawer. And she's like, gets kind of emotional. And the second customer comes in and he has a $10 bill and he does the exact same thing. She's like, hey, we don't have any money to give you. He's like, keep the change. And then another customer comes in and he had his card, so he bought his drink, but then he like bought a pay it forward or just any drink for anyone. And then just kind of started this ripple effect of kindness. Somebody else rode his bike down. He's like, I don't have any money, but I had his piggy bank, so he's like, use the piggy bank to collect money to board up or to fix the window. And then another customer came with an envelope and was just full of cash. People started coming with like food and drinks and just kind of hung out the whole day. And it was strange because the shop felt like after like somebody that you care about like passes away, you like invite people over to your house and they're just there and you're like telling good stories and stuff like that and remembering it. Like it had this really strange feeling about it. And then from there, what kind of happened is the customers like just really got behind us, and we kind of realized, hey, this is something that like you didn't necessarily deserve. Like we've been open for 5 months, but they were like they acted as if like we had been here forever. Like this is our coffee shop. We gotta treat you well. And so at that point, that was our biggest day in sales. Like, I mean, it's obviously changed since then, but like that was easily like our top day in sales, and people were just coming in and doing anything they could. And then what we were like, okay, what do we do that? What can we do to like be a little bit different about this? So we thought about, okay, why would somebody do this? And we kind of came to the realization that it's not because like somebody was evil or anything like that. They were probably just down on their luck. They were struggling. They were probably desperate, probably ashamed. So we're like, well, how do we do something that shows that this is not how we want people to like live? So we had a dollar store Christmas tree, so we turned it into our community tree, and then we invited anyone and everyone, like, hey, if you want to drop off a gift for someone else, just drop it off by the tree. And people just started dropping off random gifts, and so just like filled up, and so this whole side of the shop was just full of gifts that people were getting. So like a lot of the kids like in East End were coming down and getting just a bunch of Christmas gifts and everything, which was really fun. And just kind of built from there, and that was a lot of like our tie-in to the community. I think a lot of people really heard about us for the first time when that happened, and then we just kind of grew from there. And I think it really springboarded us into like a different type of coffee shop, which has gotten us to where we are today.
That's cool. I love hearing how you like, I guess, show grace to a person who robs you and just like see the empathy there to try to like not let that happen again or solve his problem, even though he did something so like hurtful to you.
Yeah.
That's cool to see. I was reading a little about your Artist of the Month Club.
Yeah.
What is that, and why do you do it?
Yeah, so we once a month, sometimes once every 2 months, we have local artists put their art up around the shops, and we kind of do it from some well-established photographers or artists to maybe someone's just starting out. And we would just want to like find ways to kind of tie into the community and like help some of the artists. And sometimes they're customers that have been here forever. Sometimes they're like, we have a couple photographers that come in here all the time, and it's just like a nice way for them to throw up their work. So one is just like a nice way to tie into the community. And it's pretty simple. We just have people like send in, hey, I want to put art up, and then we have Griffin kind of goes through and looks and sees if there's anything like, oh, we can't do that, or we can. And most of the time, we say yes. And just like sometimes it's a backlog, and you have to wait a year or something, which is tough for the students. Where if it's like they're here and it's like, oh, I'll be gone in 6 months. So, but that's kind of the whole program, and we play around with what makes most sense. Sometimes we have artist openings, and they kind of talk about their art. Sometimes we just have like the photographers, a lot of them we've known for a while, so we do some type of story tying to it. So we've had stuff where the photographer's like, I've gone to these different countries, but I come here all the time. I'll just fill in if there's ever like a gap, because sometimes an artist will be like, I can't do it all of a sudden, and so he'll come in and like fill in the gap. So it's just been like a cool side thing that we do, and we don't do it in Holler just because the walls are a little bit different. We do it at both the coffee locations. It's fun. We just get to meet a lot of people and hear a lot of fun stories. So.
A lot of conversations over those, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Ford here from Holler Hustle. Just wanted to let you know about a feature we have on the site that allows you to sign up for daily emails so you can get fresh marketing news right into your inbox every weekday morning. To subscribe, check out hollerhustle.com. Thank you.
Do you have a story of like something really weird that happened here once, or funny?
The pay it forward board kind of lends itself to a lot of really strange things. There's one where the guy had to act like a chicken for 10 minutes. Which doesn't seem, exactly. And it's funny because when I first tell people, usually they're like, oh, that's nothing. Like, well, if you think about 10 minutes, he's like running around the shop, like pecking people and jumping on chairs. And, like, it was really, really weird. But that was a cool one. We had people like sing and dance and like jump in the fountain and then come back for a drink. But it's fun because that board just creates like the most random things. And early on, that was so much of who we are. So a lot of our like Instagram stories or posts are of people like singing or dancing or doing something wild. And that one always like is easy to remember because it was just so strange.
10 minutes as a chicken would definitely lend itself to it.
And there's like a video of him. I don't know who has it now, but like we post every now and then. It's just like him at one point like standing on a chair and just like squawking and pecking at people.
He went all out for it.
Yeah, he did. He's like a teacher, I think here, like he's like a high school teacher or something in town. Like,
That's awesome. Yeah, that board out there, it looks like, we keep saying board, but it's like 2.5 walls. It looks like ceiling shingles. They're like, how many things there are.
Yeah, they're fun. It's cool to see like what happens with that, what's grown from that, and so much of like who we are is tied to that now too.
That's cool, and it gives like people coming in who want to pay it forward a way to be creative, like they cook whatever they want. Someone's gonna make it happen if they want coffee. So your business has grown obviously since you have 2 shops in the Chocolate Holler and now in a roasting company. So how's your role changed now from originally when you were just opening?
So the beginning I was a barista all the time, and then for a year I did more consulting, and then I came back and was now more of like like a typical owner or like a president of a company or something. We're doing a lot more oversight, a lot more like strategy and vision and meetings and all that fun stuff. But this year specifically, I am kind of taking this quasi sabbatical. So I'm working like 2 to 5 hours a week on average, and just kind of figuring out like life in a different way, where I realized that my identity since I was 15 has always been something time with this coffee shop, whether working to open it, or to be working on it. And so I wanted to take like a year and be like, what am I besides coffee? So that's the role has changed dramatically the past like 2 weeks, where I am kind of involved, where we still meet and I touch base with the management team, and I probably talk to them more than anyone else. but then other than that, I'm kind of hands off, which is very strange for me because I'm not used to that. I'm very much like involved in like touching everything and have an opinion about everything. And
It's like your baby now.
Yeah.
Just going off to college.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
So
yeah,
it's a little,
really good
it is a
comparison.
little different. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just naturally like anything as it grows, like you have to kind of step back and delegate a lot and not be involved as much. And I mean, even now, I know I can't go behind the bar and like make drinks as well or as fast as I used to. So like, that's not something I'm gonna go and try to do. And,
Probably a good call.
yeah.
This like shift or like the climb up the ladder you made yourself, I guess.
Yeah.
What have you learned about leading people and mentoring them?
I think, which is really funny. I don't think people always like want to accept this, but I think the best part about it is dealing with people, but also the toughest part about it is dealing with people.
Yeah.
And just because you have those unique personalities, and as much as I love being around people and talking to them, you run into things that maybe you didn't expect to run into, or you realize that we all think differently and we all approach the world differently. So how do you work with different personalities, understand all the nuances of the different people that work in a company, how they tie together and mesh, and I mean, definitely realizing sometimes somebody is a great human being, but they might not even be right for us at a right time. Like maybe in 2 years they're gonna be great, or maybe they would have been 2 years before, but in our current state as a company, it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I think in general, like understanding people, maybe understanding like culture. So grasping anthropology from a business lens and understanding how that like all fits in. But yeah, I mean, it's been very, very different. I think my biggest learning curve was going from like the small business to corporate America was not hard. I think part of it was because I just wasn't an owner of it. But going from corporate America to being a small business owner was really difficult for a long time, and having to transition that. What's currently happening as we're growing, this is much more like comfortable for me and like a good space for me. But like that first comeback was like, I just want these systems and these rules and these checklists for everybody to follow. And so learning that was really tough.
It's a smooth operation. Chase is always looking for a smooth operation.
Yeah.
So what is... I feel bad making you think about this while you're on your quasi-sabbatical.
Oh, no, it's fine.
What does the future look like for the Cup of Commonwealth and Chocolate Holler?
I'm guessing most entrepreneurs or business owners have this thing in their head where they're trying to prove something or make the world better or like leave a legacy. And so I think we all kind of are caught in that weird mindset. And one of the things that I've been like bent on trying to learn and understand is, can a mission-driven organization be successful? Which is what I'm really trying to see and see how large it can be. So we are comfortable with, let's say we get to 5 stores and we start bending the mission to stop growing and say, this is the company we are, we're not going to do anything else. But we're also comfortable saying, maybe it gets us to 20 different businesses, maybe it gets us to 50 or whatever. I would like to believe that you can at least get to be the size of like a regional organization and be able to do that. But it's tougher. I mean, like even now we have, I think, 35 employees, and we're spread between 4 businesses, and so it does get a little bit tougher. And even talking to people and seeing, like, do we all agree in the same way? Like, do we all think the same way? Are we all like committed to the culture, or are we not? Is that spreading or thinning? So, yeah. So the future is we want to continue to grow until we break or bend that mission, and then we stop. And then we come back and recalibrate. And so usually when we grow, we'll open a shop, and then we stop and we look at what's happening, and we kind of pull everybody back. Like here's who we are, here's our mission. Core strong again. Okay, now we add something else. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're looking for new locations. I'm super interested in restaurants and. Would love the idea of like a cocktail bar or a dive bar, even like a cafe, more shops. We talked about like a tea shop, and there's a bunch of different ideas. And we have like our strategic meetings to always kind of plan out 5 years, like what we're thinking and what falls into that. And sometimes you fall off that path, and sometimes you're like great for a while.
I think it's cool that your mission is not. It's like vague enough so that you can achieve your mission through a lot of different means. Because if it was like serve others really good coffee. You have to break that or bend it to grow in a different like sector or
and that's actually that was one of our things when we were coming up with it is make sure it's not like specific because I don't know because if it was serve others great coffee, like we were going to open coffee shops, we committed to that. But I didn't want to do that, so it's something like who we are, and that's far more important than the product that we serve.
That's for sure. So we've also been asking the same closing question to every
Okay.
guest that's on the show. And this could be fun because you're taking your sabbatical of sorts. And the question is, what's something new that you've tried recently? Whether it's personally, professionally, educationally, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And how is it going, or how did it go?
So let's see, something new that I'm trying. It's kind of old, but it's new recently. So I did want to be a writer or an owner for a while, business owner for a while.
Did you write the copy on your website?
Some of it, not all of it. Some of it's changed.
It was very good.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's probably not the ones I wrote. So I was like planning on that, and then obviously this kind of took off, and I just kept focusing on that. So I'd say in the last like week or two, I've like gone back to like old writings and like reading some of the stuff I wrote. And I'm like, I cannot write like that anymore. But I'm starting to kind of do that again, which has been fun and new, and making my brain think that way is really tough. And then I've been buying a ton of like just random books and reading again that are not like normal books. I got obsessed the last 2 or 3 years, and it's all been like business books or also like fantasy, because I'm like a huge nerd in that regard. But just recently I'm like, okay, now I want to go back and study psychology or anthropology again. I've been spending a bunch of time like reading these books and nerding out, and so not necessarily new, but new in the last 10 or 15 years.
That's cool. I set one of my New Year's resolutions was to read 52 books.
Oh wow.
So what do you have a recommendation for like a nonfiction and then a fiction book that you think I should read?
Fiction, I'm actually about to read this again, A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin. If you like fantasy.
Wizard of what?
Earthsea.
Wizard of Earthsea.
Like, do you like Game of Thrones and all them or no?
I haven't watched it, but like
Yeah, if you like
I
that
play
stuff.
video games.
Well, if you like it, I like that because Ursula Le Guin is very much like a Tolkien, C.S. Lewis kind of writer, and she gets forgotten a lot. But A Wizard of Earthsea is very much like one of those epic sagas that's really interesting, and you like follow this character throughout the books. I really like that one as a fiction one. But my favorite fiction book is The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, and it's kind of showing this character like how they find themselves. It's about identity, and it's really like touching the Harlem Renaissance, and just a really cool book that it's one of the few that I go back to and read over and over again. Not fiction, there's a ton of business books. So we kind of have like our own library that we have people read. Good to Great's one of my favorites, and then Built to Last like follows up on it. So
yeah, I read Good to Great, but not Built to Last.
yeah, those are so interesting to me. I love like the idea of like even just like the consistency, and there's so many things that you learn in business come from those books.
Yeah.
So it's just like fascinating to read and be like, oh, that's where this person's talking about. Yeah. So those are some of my favorites. Leadership Pipeline, I read that at Hastings, and so we do that here too, and it's really helpful in terms of as people move up in a company, kind of what happens where so often people think, I did this really well, so I'm moving to this next position, and because I did all this stuff, I get to move forward, and the Leadership Pipeline basically says, you did all this stuff to get to this position, that doesn't mean now you're great at this position, and instead of going in a straight line, you have to float back this way now, and learn to do less and delegate more, and it just talks about as you move up in a company from like maybe the first-time employee to a supervisor to a manager to a director to a vice president, how you have to shift back and forth. So it's just like a really cool way to read about your own development and also like how to develop others in that way.
That's cool.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
And that's all we have for today. Thank you, Sal, so much for sitting down and talking to us. And we will catch you guys next time on the Hollercast.